Welcome back to The Line. The Public Regulation Commission has seen its share of controversy, infighting, even commissioners convicted of crimes. The legislature has tried to reform the commission, and voters approved stricter qualifications for commissioners. We shouldn't forget that. But a Senate resolution would put an end to the PRC as we know it. And Daniel, it would shrink the commission from 5 elected by the public to 3 appointed by the governor, with a step before that, meaning there's a commission to vet people about expertise and all that kind of a thing. A lot of people have been screaming for this exact thing for a lot of years because I felt like the PRC in this current iteration is just not working. It's fraught with all kinds of problems. Are you in lockstep with this idea?
No, this is a crazy idea. Last thing we need is another governor-appointed organization. Look, I said the day the PRC was created, whenever they realize the power they have, we're going to regret creating the PRC. They probably are the most powerful entity in the state of New Mexico.
I would agree.
The biggest problem with the PRC is one that in my opinion, is one that most people won't talk about. We have this crazy setup where the staff doesn't work for the commissioners, and the commissioners, I mean, there's this whole, they can't have these conversations. I mean, if you want to fix the PRC, then create the PRC with their staff, give the Attorney General some more money, let him represent the state, let him represent the individuals. This whole baloney that there's this Chinese firewall between the staff and the commissioners, and the staff is showing up. I mean, I used to literally, they would get mad at me. I'd sit in committee and they'd show up, and you'd have a commissioner sitting there saying, we're for this, and the staff guy would go, Representative, we're opposed to this. And I would just go, who in the heck is, who's running the farm here? I mean, this is insane. Exactly. So, I mean, I think creating another 3-member governor-appointed board is just, especially with as powerful as they are, is a huge problem. Voters in the state need to vote for it.
A little short on time, I apologize. My fault. What's the upside here of doing this? What do we avoid happening with an appointed commission?
Well, I think there's been huge industry capture. I think that the players and the lobbyists and the people who control the PRC historically have been the P&Ms of the world. They've been able to really control those people. They're not experts, so it's been great for them. We've also tried to create a public financing system so you could actually have community members, consumer advocates elected, but that system's completely been gutted and falling apart. So what you end up having is people who probably shouldn't be elected to those positions who end up being really heavily influenced by industry. Now that's changed in this last election cycle. We've had a couple of really good, Steve Fishman, one of our former colleagues, just got elected. So I don't think we should take it away from the voters, but I do agree with Dan on some of the ways you got to fix the structural problems with the PRC. If we want consumer advocates, we want people to be elected with the qualifications so to defend consumers and not just do P&M's bidding. We've got to
put a consumer advocacy division in the PRC. Have them have their staff. Have a staff of people that represent the public in the PRC. Let the two not meet. But that's not the way it exists today.
You know, Diane, when you think about it, thinking back, I remember that first iteration, we were talking in the green room when Tony Schaefer was the first commissioner. He was a restaurateur out of Las Cruces, and no offense to him or Las Cruces. But there were many, many moments we all witnessed during hearings where these folks were just getting rolled by utilities left and right. It was really not a fair fight at the end of the day. So what's wrong with having folks who are vetted and experts in certain things? Does that solve the problem about conflicts of interest and under knowledge, all that kind of thing?
The thing about it, Gene, is you don't have to one or the other. The legislature could make the changes, the staffing changes, the structural changes. You have to have your staff who provide you with information, help you do research, do all of these things. I mean, those bills and those requests for increases and stuff, they look like this, and you're trying to learn them and know them. But you could add in, and the legislature has this right, to make conditions of a candidate. The Attorney General is the only one, I believe, right now that has one. There may be one other. But all it says is he has to be a licensed attorney in the state of New Mexico. But there's nothing wrong with saying you have to have X amount of experience or something. Then you get both sides. You get the support staff you need. You get people who have some working knowledge, and the public gets to determine who they're going to be. And the public's smart enough to not vote in the guy that's just retired from P&M.
I'm not sure about that. They elected Eric and I a couple times, so you...
you got a point there. But
Carolyn, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there's some options.
That's right. That's right. The other part of this, Carolyn, which is interesting, is who makes up this nominating committee,
right?
And who picks these folks, and what's their axe to grind? What's the, you know what I mean? No one's clean walking in the door in politics.
Well,
is there danger there?
It could be going from the, the frying pan to the fire in a way,
Right.
as a problem. I like your idea of kind of a hybrid. So maybe there's some parameters, and they have to pass some sort of whatever before they can run. And then present the candidates to the public, but some sort of, you just can't run for PRC just because you want to.
Dan, back to you on this. When you think about how the Journal does the profiles of folks, and you get like 2 or 3 paragraphs, I've always been frustrated by that. This is a highly complicated body these folks are working in. And it's not enough for the voter just to have a couple, 3 paragraphs about education, relevant experience. There's got to be a deeper dive.
But I think the idea, right, wrong, or different, I'm not advocating for it. The PRC was created right before I got to the legislature.
Right.
But I think the idea behind the PRC, creating the PRC, was to sort of do like the legislature. They don't want a bunch of rocket scientists at the PRC. Right. They want the average New Mexican to be able to be represented by their peer. Right. They don't want the PRC to be full of a bunch of lawyers and advocates and special interest stuff. I'm not saying they're not it now, but they, the plan was, hey, if you live in Catron County, your PRC commissioner should be Pat Lyons, because that's the people in Catron County. I'm not advocating for or against that. I just think that's the way it is. I just think we got to be careful when we start putting these vetting committees together, because, look, some of these races, you wind up with 1 or 2 people running. These are not places where there's 8 people in the primary and you're battling through it. It's a lot of these PRC races, 1 Republican and 1 Democrat rate to fight each other out in the general election.
The other part might be to take away those crazy pie-shaped districts and maybe sort of reshape that a little bit.
Gerrymandering could be a problem in New Mexico?
Exactly.
Can't believe there's gambling in this establishment, Gene.
That's all the time we have for this week. We're always planning the next show, though, and we have a Facebook group set up to let you give us ideas about what to cover. It's called Focus on New Mexico. You can also drop us a note on YouTube or slide into our direct messages on Twitter. I'm Gene Grant. Thanks, as always, for your efforts to stay informed and engaged. We'll see you again next week in Focus.